get that out of the way. So I'm in play. That's what I was saying. I'll be jumping from play to production because we are going to talk a little bit about gradebook, right? Because many, probably almost all of you are taking gradebook attendance. Your teachers are taking attendance in gradebook, and that seems to be a big mystery to a lot of folks. So first, let's start with some basic attendance entry. Then we're going to get into the heavy duty House bill stuff. If House bill's not your thing and you're not responsible for anything to do with House bill and you don't want to know how it's calculated, then you can kindly exit the Zoom. I'm fine with that. But let's talk first about basic attendance entry. So I have this Acme High School. Again, this is scrambled data. And this district, their first day of school was Wednesday, the 23rd. So they've been in school almost 3-4 weeks now, 3 weeks. And if I go to the daily AB, so if I type daily AB in the cheater, and by the way, this is the cheater. You'll hear me refer to that throughout this training. And a lot of people will ask me, well, how do you know what words to type in the cheater? Many years of practice. Because if I am going to the same page every day for the last 12 years, I'm going to figure out a shortcut to get there. And I figured out if I type daily AB, it took me there, okay? You'll come up with your own shortcut list. I am not one to go using the navigation menus. I rarely use those. I'm definitely using the go-to a lot or the cheater. So this is our daily absence list. This is who's absent today. And attendance hasn't been taken, so there's nobody showing on here. If I put a student in context, so let's go with A asterisk. So when you do up here in the search for students, if I do A asterisk and enter, that's going to pull back every kid whose last name starts with the letter A. So let's say I've got this voicemail message from Maddie's withdrawn. That's not a good one. Terry's mother. So Terry Alston's mom left a voicemail message saying Terry's not going to be here today. So I'm going to go ahead and click Terry, and it puts Terry in context. And if I go school AB in the cheater, it's going to take me directly to Terry's school absence page. And so these are all the days that Terry's been absent so far this year. I'm going to go ahead and enter one for today. So I'm going to add an absence, and it automatically defaults to today's date. And Terry's mom says that he is sick. Now, each district is going to have their own policy as far as what counts as medically excused absences. I can't tell you what does. ODE can't tell you. They're going to say you need to develop your own policy. And what I mean by that is some districts, they take the student at their word. If the student's parents call and says Terry's sick, then Terry is sick. No doctor's note is required. Some districts say, yeah, we get a lot of kids playing hooky and we have to have a doctor's note before we can medically excuse it. Again, ODE says that is your district's policy. You have to create a policy around what is medically excused. So in my district, I do not have people abusing that. So I am going to mark Terry as medically excused absence. He is out the full day. So I leave that as the full day. And honestly, I never touch this absence level, and I suggest you don't either. Let the absence level alone, and the software will automatically select it. And I'm going to get into some more examples later, and I'll show you why I suggest that, okay? So I'm saying he's medically excused, mom called sick. Whatever you type in the comments doesn't go to ODE. doesn't go to the House bill calc. So please don't type times in and out in here. These are notes specific to this student. I also want to clarify these reasons. So I have a reason of medical. I have a note of parent call. This does not go to ODE or the House bill calc either. ODE doesn't get the reason. ODE doesn't get the note. ODE only gets is this excused or unexcused in the number of hours, okay? They don't care the reason. It's just ODE gets excused or unexcused. All right, so again, these reasons and notes never go to ODE. I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. And now Terry is absent all day today. Let's go with another student. Did you know? So remember, I did asterisk search. And so I had a list of kids. That list of kids is right here in this student queue. If I click on this arrow, it's going to flip to the next kid in the alphabet that comes after Terry, which is Jacob Alvarado. Let's say Jacob's parent has sent a note saying they are leaving for vacation. They're going to the Bahamas. They have left today, and Jacob will not be back until next Tuesday. You can enter a series of absences, so you don't have to sit there and add them one day at a time. So I have Jacob's school absence page up, and then I could say he's out today until Tuesday, the 19th. So he's back the 19th. So that means he's not here on Monday. So I have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday that I'm entering this absence for. It's excused absence, and the reason is vacation, and there is a parent note. Now, when I go ahead and hit save, then this records an absence for those 4 days. Now, this message is telling me, now, wait a minute, the 16th and the 17th are non-attending days. Yeah, that's Saturday and Sunday. So it's not going to make an absence for those days, which is right. So now what it's done is created the absence for today, for Thursday, for Friday, and for Monday, all ahead of time. All right, questions so far? Do I have anything yet, Carly?
Yes, can you change the preset absence reasons? Example, I do not have vacation as an option.
Say that again. Well, say the last part. I don't have what?
Example, I do not have vacation as an option.
Oh, good question. Your district controls those absence types. In reasons and notes, please don't go adding them willy-nilly. Please don't do that. So your district has, if I jump to absence type, each district enters their own absence types. Notice I'm at the high school and these are locked. In that cheater, I typed absence type maintenance. These are locked because they're set up at the district level. And that means the district level controls them and they trickle down to all the buildings. I highly encourage you to set up your absence types at the district level, all your absence codes at the district level. So that way all the buildings are consistent. I also suggest that there be only a couple people in charge of being able to access these codes, because what has happened in the past is, well, I think we need this, and then they get added, and before you know it, you have 50 codes and everybody's using different things. So the absence type, again, I have locks because I'm at the building. If I switch to the district, then these codes are going to become editable. At a bare minimum, you must have these codes at a bare minimum. I honestly don't recommend you have more than this. Many of you do. And that's where confusion starts happening. Like when you look at my absence types here, I have an excused absence. I have a medically excused absence. And then I have an unexcused absence, this one. I have an out of school suspension. That is absolutely necessary. And that out of school suspension, when we get into the House bill talk more into how that calc works, for the out of school suspensions to work correctly, they must be marked as absence group out of school suspension. Okay, I'm going to get more into these absence types in a little bit when we get more into House bill. If I flip over to these reasons and notes, here's where vacation is. Again, please don't start adding codes without consulting someone in your district. If you're the person who adds these codes, great, go for it, and you think you need them. But you should not have, in my opinion, and I've been doing this for 17 years, so I've got a lot of experience working with districts troubleshooting their absences. A student is excused. That's the absence type. The reason is they went on vacation. They went to a funeral. They had a religious holiday. They had a college visit. They had a court appointment. They had a dentist appointment. So the reasons are why they were absent, why they were excused. The notes are, parent called, parent emailed, parent texted, if you have that option. The school called the kid, no call, no show. So again, notes and reasons never go to ODE. They're for you to help track your attendance. The absence type, if it's excused or unexcused, is what gets sent to ODE, because a student, they accumulate excused absences and unexcused absences, and those totals are what gets sent to ODE in the attendance collection. All right. ODE does not get that Timmy was out 10 hours of vacation. ODE just gets Timmy was out 10 hours excused and 15 hours unexcused. They only get those grand totals of hours. Okay. So, Carly, are there any other questions about absence types?
There was another question from Ebony. I sent something that says unmute. I don't know if she has to unmute herself after I sent the request.
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. Well, my question was, when students come in tardy and then they leave early dismissal, on the thing, is that correctly? Like, it's got early dismissal on there, so under the drop. So is that correctly? Am I doing that right? Or do I change the top when the morning when they come in at tardy? Do I change that to early dismissal? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Do you had a kid who comes in late?
Yes.
And then they were at school a couple hours, then they left again? That needs to be two separate attendance entries, and that's something I'm going to show you guys in a minute.
Okay.
All of that has to be documented.
Okay.
So,
all right, I'll watch the way you do it.
Okay, so you're welcome. Anytime a student is not in school, it has to be documented. It has to be recorded. And you're going to have some students that are late. They leave for a lunch appointment and then they got an early dismissal. And that's what I will show you shortly, how to enter that. Okay.
Melissa, there's another question. Does ODE see medical absences?
No, they do not. So if I pull up that kid, let's go back to the high school. And I say, that was A asterisk. And who was it? Terry Alston, that's who I did that for. If I go to Terry's FS attendance, this is what ODE gets. They only get these numbers. 25.5 and 0 excuse. So when that attendance collection runs, if you don't believe me, you can run it yourself, but they get these 3 numbers. They do not get excused, or they do not get medical. Medical is a whole other animal for House Bill Calc. Okay. So those 3 numbers there go in that attendance collection to ODE. All right. Someone said, do I have them all? I think so. Can we preset absence reasons? Okay. All right. Let's go on to creating an absence 3 different ways. All right. I'm going to stop picking on Terry and let's go to, we did Jacob already. Let's go Lee. Oh, Lee's a JVS kid. Let's go Shane. So Shane Alvarado, he's A status, and I'm going to go to the school AB. Now, I highly encourage you to utilize all the absence types. And what I mean by that, because I remember back when I did this training once before, someone said, well, why can't I just enter everything as a full day and then put times in and outs? Well, you can do that, but you don't want to do that. Because if you're trying to track how many times a kid is tardy, you need to enter them as tardies. Here's what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and add an absence for Shane, and it is for today. And I will say unexcused tardy. Shane came in at, now watch this trick too. School starts here at 7:55. Shane overslept, came in at 8:55. Watch how I typed 8:55. The trick is if you use 4 digits, it'll automatically format it for you and you don't have to deal with those darn clocks. I do not like the clocks. I refuse to use them, honestly. So if I do 0855 and I hit tab, it automatically formats that to 8:55. And I don't have to deal with that clock. Because if you work with the clock, you notice you got to press AM and PM, and that's where people get into trouble. Is they accidentally choose 12:55 AM or something like that, which is after midnight and there's no school in session. And then the House Bill Calc kind of says, wait a minute, I'm not going to calculate that kid's attendance because you entered this wrong. And I avoid those clocks because I don't like them. And they're also this AM and PM, and using my mouse, I just avoid it. I just type in the box. So if I say he's 8:55 and save, now school starts here at 7:55, 8:55, he's going to get docked an hour, right? Simple math. If I go to the next kid, so Tracy Andrews, and Tracy, if I say she's unexcused, and I say Tracy came in at 0855 tab and hit save, what the House Bill Calc's going to do for her is going to dock her an hour too. Even though it's a full day absence, if I entered 8:55, then it stops the clock there and docks her an hour. All right. Then if I go to the next kid, Anthony James, and I choose partial unexcused, and I said time in 0855, tab out of there and save, this kiddo is also getting docked 1 hour. So I entered those absences 3 different ways, but they're all docking the student an hour. Now, which one would I prefer? The first one, and that's because I'm going to try, I want to get a report of tardies. I can only do that if I entered them as tardies. So if I come back here to his school absence page, so this is the one I entered as a tardy. I'm going to be able to run a report and get a total of all the tardies and say, well, you know, Susie's had 10 tardies. That's no good. That's demerits for her. Or Johnny's only had 1 tardy, etc. Okay.
Melissa, we have some questions.
All right. Why is that a non-absence? That is an excellent question, Jim. And I cannot stress this enough. Ignore that column. We have asked them to remove it since 2017. The dang thing is still there. It does not mean anything. This absence level, pretend that that is gone. Because what really matters is if I jump over here, and when I say we've asked them to remove it, I'm talking about frontline state support, because this comes up undoubtedly every year. Well, I entered them as tardy, but it says non-absent, so it's not going to count against them, right? No, that's not how that works. If I go back to that absence type maintenance, so see this tardy excuse that I use? Its qualifier is late tardy. So this qualifier is what constitutes, does it count towards attendance? The only qualifier that doesn't is the true non-absent, which you should honestly not be using that much. We'll get into that in a little bit too. But for this kid, even though this says non-absent, she's still getting docked an hour for that. If I jump to this student, see how that partial from last, I think that might have been, was that Monday? No, that was Friday. The 8th was Friday. So this says partial 12/22. He was out at 12/22. Even though it says non-absence, that student is getting docked for it. So school is out here at 2:35. He left at 12/22. He's getting docked 2 hours and 8 minutes. My math, I'm terrible at this. I have to use the little clock cheater, and I'll show you that in a minute. But that student is getting docked for this. Every one of these, even though they say non-absence, they're still getting docked for them.
Melissa?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand all that, and I think most people on here do. I'm an attendance officer, so when I meet with parents when the House Bill 410 process, and I share with them some of these documents, and they see non-absence, or Lord forbid, when a judge or a prosecutor sees non-absence, it's really difficult to explain that. So it would be nice to, to eliminate that altogether, because it's very confusing.
You are preaching to the choir.
I know.
Because I have, that is one of my biggest pet peeves, because
Yeah.
attempting to explain that, yes, is difficult.
I can see non-absence being excused or for a curricular activity, because they're physically maybe not in the building. I think non-absence maybe describes that a little better, but still it's confusing. That's all I got. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Melissa, we have a question from Janet. Can we go back to that one?
Yeah, how do students' absence hours play into school report? Right? Yeah, but I'm sorry, Janet, I can't answer you that. I'm not your EMIS go-to on that. That would be something I would double check with your EMIS coordinator at your district. If you are the EMIS coordinator at your district, I don't know Janet's last name. I would go to your EMIS person at the ITC. So if you're at Columbus, Janet, is this Janet from, oh, Janet O'Callahan. Janet, remind me what district you're at, because your name sounds classical academy. So you're dating Jean, Tammy, or Laura is going to be able to explain that to you.
Melissa, we have another question. We have a lot who come in on time, leave for an appointment, then come back for the rest of the day. How should those be
It's
entered?
really hard to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, it says we have a lot of people who come in on time, leave for an appointment, then come back for the rest of the day. How should those be entered?
Yes, that's what I'm going to show shortly. So that's what the other lady was asking also about someone was tardy and then I heard early dismissal. So that's coming.
Okay,
Uh,
and what report shows the number of parties a student has without counting them manually?
Oh, lots of them. We'll get to that too. All right. So someone says we are currently doing it all on the same entry. Yeah, that is a no-no. Same entry is a no-no. Okay. So let's talk about how we handle the kid who's late, goes to the doctor appointment, and then leaves early. All right. And yes, every one of those needs to be documented. All early dismissals from school should be counted against the student. And in my experience, that's not what I see happen. But that's what should happen per ODE because the student was there, not there for instruction. And if they are not out for a school activity, then it needs to be documented that they were not at school. All right, so let's go with someone I have not picked on yet. Let's jump to the B's because I need my A people for something else. Let's go B asterisk. So Irma Banks, Miss Irma, she's tardy for school. I'm going to say she's unexcused tardy. School starts here at 7:55. She waltzes in that door at 8:15. Tab. Late, says car troubles. She says car troubles a lot, but all right, she's late. Now, she also, mom calls and says, oh, well, I could get her into the orthodontist because she needs her braces adjusted and they could squeeze her in today at 11:30. I'll come pick her up at 11:15. All right, mom comes picks her up at 11:15 and they document that. Mom brings her back at 12:15. So I add another absence. I need to add this as a medical partial. If it's not medical, if it's just some other chunk in the day, like maybe she went to court in the middle of the day, then that should be entered as a regular partial excused. The trick is you must use partials. Partials is the only one that allows you to enter it more than once. So if I say this was a medical partial and I say the time out was 11:15 and she came back at 12:15, tab out of that and I hit save. So I'm going to use my reasons of medical parent note. Well, actually mom called. We'll say mom called for that one. Ortho, braces adjusted. And I go ahead and hit save. Well, now mom calls again. Says, oh, I'm going to pick her up at 2:15 because we have an appointment with our lawyer. All right, so how do I do that? I'm going to add another absence and I will say it is partial excused. And then down here, what this trick, 2:15. So if I would type 2:15 like this, that's 2:15 in the morning. I don't want that. All right. 2:15 in the afternoon is 14:15. Just add 12. That's how you get the military time. Just add 12. So 2:15 in the afternoon is 14:15. And now if I type that in, I still don't have to use that clock and I hit tab, that's 2:15. and lawyer appointment. And this is, the note is parent called. Go ahead and hit save. That's how you enter in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. Because you can't do all of that on one entry. Does that make sense to everyone? Do I need to do it again, maybe? I've, with experience, I've seen a lot of districts attempt to avoid not to use partials. You've really honestly got to use them. You need to use them if you have students leaving early, coming and going. All right, let me see what. Oh, no message. Oh, yes. They come in late, get there, leaves early, same entry. Okay. So Kim, yes, this is the exact same thing. It's got to be 2 entries. So here's Mabel. Mabel, she is excused tardy this morning because she has a court appointment. We have a note from the court. So we're going to say court brought court papers. I'm a big one for the CYA. I will type till my heart's content, because I don't ever want to be in a position when someone comes back and says, well, why did you do that? Well, I have it all documented right here. I gave her tardy excuse because she's got the court papers. That's why it was excused, even though she was late. So, and like in this note, none of these really fit my criteria. I'm not going to select anything. That's why I'm typing stuff down in here, brought the court papers. Okay, because parent call, medical only, parent note, parent sign out, school call, none of those fit my scenario. So I'm not going to fill that out. It's not required. So she came in at 9 o'clock from this court appointment. School starts at 7:55. So she's getting docked 1 hour and 5 minutes for that appointment. Then if she leaves early to go back to court, I'm going to add another absence, and I will say partial excused. She is out at 14:30. That's 2:30. So 2:30 plus 12 is the 14:30. That's the military time. And back to court. Now she's going to get docked 5 minutes for that one, because school is out here at 2:35. So in total, when that House Bill calc runs for her, she should have 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Melissa, somebody's asking, can I add an absence note?
Charles, back to what I said, you can add any absence notes you want if you're in charge of that, but please don't go add in willy-nilly absence notes without consulting others in your district. And please add them at the district level so they trickle down. If you feel you're missing a note and you're going to use that court note or court papers often, then yes, add it. If it's a one-off, I don't know, would I bother adding court papers? I don't know. If it's something I'm going to use a lot, yeah, I would add it. Kim, yes, you should go back and fix them, because I'm going to show you a trick. How you can tell if you are getting your absences entered correctly. What I'm about to show you, if you do not have access to, I can't add it for you. I can't give you access during this training. You are going to need to go back to your district and contact your district super user, the one who does the security at your district. And they're going to have to add this security for you, what I'm about to show you, okay? So if I show you this and you say, well, I can't get to that, I'm sorry, but we cannot fix that for you. I cannot change your access without written permission from your district. So your district's going to have to give you access to the following reports. All of you over here on the left have this paper icon. If you hover over that paper icon or you expand this navigation menu, that opens the analytics hub. I'm not a fan of the navigation menu. I like it collapsed. So I am going to collapse it again. In the analytics hub, there is an attendance folder. This is where all the House bill reports are and the attendance reports are. If you do not have this attendance folder, this is not something I can give you access to. You need to contact your district's super user, the security person, the person who resets your passwords, the person who made your account and gave you your username and password, the person who changes your access when you don't have enough access or you have too much. So in this attendance folder, there are reports, and I have a couple of favorites, which I have purposely starred. All right, let's start with this one. You can star up to 5 reports. And then what that means is it shows up here in your favorites. So you can just jump to that right away. And you just favorite something by clicking the gold star, making the gold star turn, the star turn gold. So like if I do this absence threshold by date range, which we're going to be using shortly, then that will always be up here in my favorites. And I can expand that favorites menu and get to my reports real quick without having to come in here to attendance and then start scrolling down. All right, so this daily absence list detail, honestly, it's the best report that's in this analytics hub, in my humble opinion. If you're not familiar with running the reports in the analytics hub, these definitely require some patience. And what I would do is probably open another tab and run the report in the tab and open Dazzle in another tab in your browser so you can keep working. Because when you run these reports, kind of monopolizes your screen and stays there until the report finishes. Okay. So in this analytics hub, and I've chose the daily absence list detail. The prompts on this screen, every one of them is required. You cannot get away with not filling something out. It's going to error on you. You must fill every prompt out over here in the value column. And there's one exception. And I'll show you that exception here in a second. School name, this condition in the middle column, which I can change. Right now it's set to equal to. So when I choose this drop down, it's going to show the buildings at Acme, and I'm going to have to choose one building. This is where I'm saying these reports require a lot of patience, because depending on which report you run, unfortunately, these drop downs are not the fastest. And they can take forever. And then once it loads, then I'm going to be able to select the high school. Now, while that's going, I'm going to point out, maybe try to make my screen a little bigger too. Here we go. I'm going to choose high school. And notice I can't choose more than one. And that's because this school name condition is set to equal to one item. So I run it for the high school. If I want to run this daily absence list detail report for multiple buildings in this district, I could switch this to say, there's one of them that says, there's Lord is one of, okay, then that lets me select multiples. I could select Acme High School, intermediate, junior high, all of them. I'll just keep it as Acme High School. the status name. What statuses do I want for these absences? Well, here's the trick. Condition. If you change this condition to not equal to, you don't have to fill out the value column. And that is because this is saying the status is not equal to blank. Well, every kid has a student status, so it's going to return every kid. Okay. When I run these reports, I'll usually change the condition to not equal to, not equal to, not equal to. So that way I don't have to wait for the right drop downs to load. I can just run the report. So I have student, or this is status name. So this is the student status name, like the active non-res. I have that not equal to blank. So it's going to give me all kids. Which dates of attendance do I want back? So I'm going to use these pickers. My first day of school was the 23rd. And then today is the 13th. And I'll go ahead and hit OK. Sometimes these, depending on the report, these reports run faster than actually loading the drop downs. Sometimes they're really slow. And that's why I encourage you, if you need to keep on working and doing stuff, open another tab and keep working away. So when this report finishes, it shows on your screen, but then you're going to be able to export it. And so this doesn't look that great. And it's actually really hard to read, but a general rule of thumb, if the report has the word detail in the name, then that means it exports into Excel nicely. So look for reports that have the word detail in the name, and that means they export into Excel. So I can come here and say export to Excel, or I could do CSV. And now that report generates itself in Excel, and I can open it. All right, so I'm going to enable editing, and I'll try to make this a little bigger for everyone. This report is going to tell me, like for Brett Alford, for 8:30, there was a non-absence entered for school activity. It is not counted against him at all. 0 hours excused, suspension, 0 hours, unexcused, suspension, sorry, and excused 0 hours. Now he also missed this day, 9/5, which was last Tuesday. He got docked 6.1 hours unexcused, excuse me, their full day. It was a full absence, unexcused. Now, trying to remember who is that student that I did the time in, time out, time in, time out. I don't remember, so I'm going to have to cheat and look. Oh, this isn't. Trying to remember who that was. It was B. Wasn't their name B? I said, let me switch to the B's because I think that's what it was. Irma Banks. Okay, so if I look on the report for Irma Banks, here's Irma Banks. All right, line 45, 46, 47. So this is the one that I entered all for today. So when I said she was, notice it's saying all zeros, all zeros, all zeros. Anybody know why that is? Even though I have attendance entered for her? Gold star to anyone who knows the answer. Anybody guessing?
Beth Smith said data didn't roll.
What date? What do you mean?
Penny said you haven't put any.
I need to run add up EMIS and update mode. That's what makes the attendance calculate. So the attendance will calculate automatically every night at 7 o'clock. Do you have to wait that long? Definitely not. You can ask your EMIS coordinator to run add up EMIS, and that will automatically calc the attendance. Or if your EMIS coordinator is not available and you need it in a pinch, you can send us a ticket. Now, if you send us a ticket like every hour saying to recalc it, we're going to say, how about once a day for you? You know, within reason, we'll gladly run it for you. But like every hour, or you want us to rerun it every 5 minutes? Yeah, probably not. So when the add up EMIS calc runs, that's what calcs the ODE attendance and the house bill attendance. And honestly, those are two different numbers. ODE's attendance is what I showed you on that FS attendance tab. I showed you that ODE gets excused, unexcused, and attended hours. Then the house bill calc is a different set of numbers that will include excused, unexcused, and medical absences. That's where those medicals come into play when we get talking about house bill calc. So this, I'm going to see if my add up EMIS calc has finished. It has not. Once it is finished, I'm going to go and rerun this report. I will get it ready and loaded while the calc is finishing. Then when I rerun that, I should see hours for that IRMA student.
Melissa, where do you set the hours to update?
What do you mean? There, what do you mean? Because you just run add up EMIS and it automatically calcs the hours. You don't do anything else but run it. You enter the attendance and then the calc has to run, and then it recalculates everyone's attendance and redoes their totals.
Someone said that it rolls out every night at 5, so I'm assuming.
It rolls out every night at 7. Beth, I'm not sure where you got 5, but it is 7 o'clock. Unless someone has changed it at Frontline without my knowledge. But every night at 7, the calc runs. So equal high school, not equal to status name, and we'll do the calendars again. And we'll say the 13th. Let's see if my calc has finished. Yep, it's done. All right, so the house bill calc has completed. ODE calc and house bill calc are the same. They're running off that add up EMIS. Now, if I go rerun this report, I should get updated attendance figures for IRMA. What happens usually is someone will ask, well, you know, Timmy, I know they hit the threshold today, but when I run the report, it doesn't show that Timmy has hit the threshold. That's because that calc has to run to update the attendance, and then Timmy will show as hitting the threshold. All right, so if I change this to Excel and run this or open this again in Excel, and I have about 5 spreadsheets open. I should close some of them. Okay, so here's the new report that I just ran, and I'm going to make this a little bigger. And if we go IRMA banks, it was IRMA, right? I think so. And if I say, okay, 913, 913. All right. So here are the 3 absences I entered for 913. Her tardy, that she came in at 8:15. She got docked Oh, shoot. This is, hang on. Scratch this report for a sec. Let me get out of here. Okay, we're going to run the other one. My other favorite, this daily absence detail. Hang on a sec.
Melissa, what screen did you go to the update and student information?
It's the EMIS transfers. Only EMIS coordinators have access to that. So if you don't have access to it and you need it run, you need to send a ticket to Meta. Please don't call us and ask us to run that. We're not going to do it for you over the phone. It needs to be in writing. So you'll want to send us a help desk ticket and say, hey, my EMIS coordinator's out. Can someone please force add up EMIS so I can get updated attendance? And that's the one I'm saying, we're not going to do it for you 10 times a day or 3 times a day. Like once is doable. And then it automatically will run every night at 7 o'clock too. Okay, so here we go. I should have started with this one. My apologies. Daily absence detail. So now when I open this and I am looking for Mrs. Banks, and we say 9/13, 9/13. Okay, so she got docked a total of 1.33 hours. Excused, she's got 0.33 unexcused, and for the day total, she is missing 1.67. So if I go back to her absences, I go back to the high school, and it was Banks, Banks, right? Yes, enter. All right, Irma. And we go school AB. And so I had 1 tardy unexcused, and this would have been for 20 minutes. Then I had these 2 excused absences. All right, now, if I come to something I want to point out here. I mentioned this briefly before. I am terrible with calculating these hours in my head or using my fingers. So on this main page of Dazzle, in this quick links section, there is a link to an hours calculator. And here's where you can convert this to decimals, and that the House Bill Calc is using the decimals. So if we look at this, and 8:15 she came in at. Oops. I got this thing stuck. All right, 8:15 she came in at. So school starts at 7:55. She comes in at 8:15. And I do AM and calculate it. That's 20 minutes, 0.33 hours. Well, what do you know? That's exactly what this says. She was unexcused 0.33 hours. Now, if I look at her medical appointment from 12:15, she left at 11:15 and she was out to 12:15. So that's an hour. However, it's also medical. So it does not get counted towards the House Bill Calc. So this absence is not going to count towards her excessive absences because it's marked as medical partial. And, oh, we should check something. Well, we'll check that in a sec. All right, so medical partial. Now, the other thing with the House Bill Calc and the add up EMIS, the ODE calculation, when a student leaves during the day and they leave during their lunch time, that lunchtime is free time. They don't get docked for that. So the House Bill calc, whenever you have someone gone in the middle of the day, is always searching to see, oh, is that during their lunch time? And then it subtracts their lunch time from that absence. Okay, we're going to get more into that.
Melissa, we have some questions. Is column M on the daily absence list detail report the absence level that we should ignore?
Let me pull up that report. Yes, you should ignore column M. Pretend it does not exist.
Okay, and then how do
means
I
no.
upload? Oh, sorry. How do I upload a template letter for the absence intervention?
Janet, you're getting way ahead of yourself. And I honestly don't know if we can even cover that today. So if you have, first you have to have access to that. And if you don't have access to that, to upload the letter, you have to have access to the district level. But if we have time, I can show where that is. You also have to have a letter tweaked and updated. And a lot of times, if you send us the letter, we can help with that. All right, so back to this. Okay, so lunch. The House Bill calc and the ODE calc are always checking to see, is this the kids' lunch period when they're absent? So what the House Bill and ODE calc do, that add up EMIS, what it does. So Irma was gone from 11:15 to 12:15. That's an hour. However, we need to see when their lunch is. If I look at Irma's schedule, so I click this magic white triangle here, or carrot, whatever you want to call it, and view at their schedule, I look, when does she have lunch? Oh, well, this would be a problem because someone forgot to put lunch on her schedule. All right. Unless she is really leaving after fourth period, which might be the case. Okay, but that's a whole other can of worms. If every student, if they're there all day, they should have a lunch on their schedule. All right, she doesn't, so she's not getting any freebie for this. So she's getting docked a full hour for that absence that she went to the doctor. Now, that 1 hour absent is not, that she went to the doctor, is not getting docked for House Bill count because it's a medical excuse, but it is getting recorded to ODE that she was not there 1 hour. All right. If you have students with medical absences, the hours on their FS are not going to match the hours on their absence intervention page, the House Bill calc, because the House Bill calc does not include the medicals. The ODE hours include the medical and the total of excused. All right. Now, if I look at, let's go back to those A kids and look at a couple. Brett was one of them that I entered an absence for. And if I go to Brett's school AB, and we do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So Brett, he's actually absent. This was the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, 8th. So this was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then he missed Monday too. And he's also got this school activity of non-absence. This absence type, since it says NA, non-absence, this is not counting against him. Okay, because the absence type is non-absence. These 5 here, those are counting against him. So every day he is basically a no-show. So for this day, he got 6.1 hours. This day, 6.1 hours. I think I accidentally got muted. Okay. So this student, they're getting docked the full amount of hours. So this school goes 6.1 hours a day. So he got docked 6.1 hours, 6.1 hours, 6.1 hours, 6.1 hours, 6.1 hours. If I look at that spreadsheet for Brett Alford, sure enough, unexcused 6.1 hours for Tuesday, for Wednesday, for Thursday, for Friday, and then for Monday. So if you're ever unsure if the way you've entered absences are docking the student correctly, please go run this report, and it's going to tell you exactly how many hours they are getting docked. If I look at,
I'm
yes.
sorry, we have some questions whenever you get a chance, but I won't let you finish.
Let me look at them.
Janet says that she has access. Would you be the better person to send the letter to? The
Have
template
you
letter?
the letter? You just can't load a letter. It has to have bookmarks on it. And if you're not sure how to use the bookmarks, then if you come into the main page of Dazzle, you scroll down here, there are all these nifty little videos. You go attendance videos. These are actually links to public YouTube channel. And if you scroll down, creating, there's one that says editing absence intervention letters. I highly encourage you to start there and get the bookmarks added. If you're having trouble with the bookmarks, because they can be tricky, then send the letter to us. But you know, some people don't need our help at all editing these absence intervention letters. They do it, load it, it works great. Now others, it's not that simple, or you have a complicated letter and you need our assistance with. But by all means, if you feel comfortable doing it and you have access, you should load it yourself. That would be the first step. Load it, see if it even works, and then we can troubleshoot from there if it doesn't print. But I would start with this YouTube video. By the way, everything I'm talking about today is covered in these videos. This attendance videos, if I click on that link again, that it takes me to the public YouTube channel and entering absences. Entering absences 3 different ways. Well, geez, we did that, just did that. Entering absences, multiple absences on the same day. Whoop, just did that too. So many of these videos we are covering today. So if you have questions or maybe don't want to watch the recording that I published for this because you don't remember which section I talked about it in, you don't want to watch the whole 2.5 hour video, you can come out here and then get a recap with these videos.
Okay, Melissa, there's another question. If a student leaves before lunch and returns after lunch, will the system calculate out the lunch time so it does not count against the student's excused, unexcused timeout from school?
Yes, it does. So if we pull up another kid and I say, let's go F asterisk so I can find some kids I haven't used yet. We do F asterisk. And let's go Georgia Farmer. This school has 2 lunch periods, 5A and 5B. If I click on Georgia's magic white triangle, Georgia takes lunch A, 5A. Well, 5A meets 11:05 to 11:34. So 11:04 to 11:34. So it is 30 minutes. That's her freebie. Mom calls and says, coming to pick up Georgia at 10:55. And mom brings her back at, let's say, 12:15. So from 10:55 to 12:15. So we do 10:55 to 12:15. That is an hour and 20 minutes or 1.33. Well, she's got a 30-minute freebie period in there because her lunch is covered in this time frame, right? So she actually is only going to get docked for 1 or 50 minutes, not an hour and 20 minutes. So if we would take this and we back this up to 11:45, so I'm basically taking out her lunch. She's going to get docked 50 minutes or 0.83. Now, if I actually do this and go school AB, and I say, mom came to get her at 10, so out is 10:55. She came back in 12:15. It is a partial. All right, reason, court, save. So she left at 10:55. She came back in at 12:15. Well, I have to go rerun that House bill calc. And Georgia farmer. So now if I go back to that House bill calc, add up EMIS. Again, this is only available for the EMIS coordinator, or if you are the district super user, you could get to this page too, because you have access to every page in the district. But how I got there, type parentheses, S parentheses, that's the quickest way to get there, and I'll take you to the S collection. Please be very careful if you have access to this, and don't go crazy and start clicking stuff, because someone will get really mad if you click the wrong thing. This is add up EMIS that I'm running, and gonna go ahead, update attendance. You can't even verify. And this is the House bill and the ODE calc running simultaneously. And if I go to my management screen, I'll wait for that to finish. I can get my report loaded again. And if I say daily absence detail, what I'm looking for this report to do, if I have everything set up right, she should only get docked 50 minutes for that appointment that she was gone an hour and 24. But because she did it over her lunch, the House bill calc is going to, subtract her lunch. What the heck? I don't want that. Oh yeah, high school. No, I don't want junior high, I want high school. Okay, Acme High School. And we'll stay not equal to and hit okay. So let me see if, all right, the House bill calc is complete. So see, it says attendance calculator. And come back here. Let me see if I can actually pull it up on here. Okay, Georgia farmer. Oh, what do you know? 0.83, exactly as I hoped. So she did not get docked the hour and 20 minutes. She only got docked the 0.83, which would be the 50 minutes. So the key is you've got to have lunch on their schedules. You have to have a time a start and stop time on the lunch periods. If I come over back to the building level and I go to periods of you type those 3 words in the cheater, it will take you to the periods of the day maintenance. And if you select Monday, the only periods that need a time are lunch periods. If you have times on all the other, that's great, but it's not used by anything. The batch scheduler doesn't look at times, and nothing looks at times. The only thing that looks at start and stop times is the House Bill calc, and only looks at the lunch periods. So if you find that your lunch times are wrong, you need to change them on each day of the week. That's why when some of you are doing the SYI, we ask you what's your lunch periods. If you don't fill them out, we'll leave them blank and you're going to have to go fill them in 5 different days, and it's a pain in the butt. That's why it's best if we get that information when we do the SYI. But unfortunately, like if there was a typo and something was entered wrong, you would have to touch each day of the week and edit them. So this school's got 5A and 5B. Then if I go to courses, the other gotcha with the lunch to make it work correctly is the course has to be coded as course type equal lunch. So if I search, I'm in courses, and if I search for lunch A and there was a lunch B, when I hit search, there is a miscellaneous tab. There's a field here, course type lunch. So the House Bill calc is looking at that kid's schedule, trying to find any course that's course type lunch. Then it says, that's the one I need to subtract. Then when it finds the course type lunch, then it figures out, all right, well, that is offered 5A. So now I need to go look to see what start and stop time 5A is. So if all that's not in the line, then the calc will not work right as far as subtracting lunch for kids. Hopefully I answered your question. It seems complicated, but it's really so simple and ingenious. Like, dang, that's pretty smart. You just need to make sure that only lunches are coded as type lunch, because if you've got other stuff, then I'll subtract multiple lunch periods for them and give them a whole bunch of freebies, which would be a big no-no.
Melissa, where did you go to get to the school absence screen?
School absence screen. Do you mean this school AB?
The student school absence screen is what they're asking.
Type school AB in the cheater. So here's another trick. So I'm going to type up here in the search. I'm doing comma George. Well, some part of George. I'm a terrible speller. But what that does, it's a wild card, and it's going to find every kid whose first name is Georg. Oh, there it is. Georgia Farmer. Well, I have Georgia Hudson and George Porter and Georgia Reese, but I want Georgia Farmer. And I was on this page, Charles. So I type school AB in the cheater, and it will take you to their school absence page. And so this is the one. Really, she was gone an hour and 20 minutes, but the House Bill calc only docked her 50 minutes because she was gone over lunch. I mean, all right, Janet, to low, and this is for everyone. I am strongly asking you, please do not email me, Carly, Gary, Kate directly. because it will get lost in La La Land. I was just on vacation for 3 weeks and you would have had to wait 3 weeks for my help. Whenever you need ProgressBook help, email this. Save it, write it down somewhere. This is the fastest way you're going to get help, because what this does, if you send an email right now, it's going to send a ticket within about 3 seconds to the entire team. And our entire team, this is what we do all day, is work a help desk and watch for tickets to come in, and within minutes we're grabbing them. This is your quickest way to get help. To load the letter though, you need to put the district in context and you need to type the word template in the cheater. So if you try to get there with the building in context, it's going to say, so sad. That doesn't work that way. You have to put the district in context and then go to the template. And if you type template in the cheater, it will take you right there. If you don't have access to this page, then you cannot load the letter. You're going to have to ask your district super user, hey, can you change my access? Can you load this letter for me? Etc. Okay.
Melissa, we have a couple questions. Where did you go to update school lunch times? I had put in the chat, that you went to periods of the day.
Yes, you have to be at the building level, and periods of the, if you type that in, it will take you straight there. It looks like this, and you have to select each day of the week. And here's where 5A and 5B are located. And so if I wanted to change this year we're changing our lunch times, I would have to edit it for Monday and save. Then I would have to edit it for Tuesday and save. Edit it for Wednesday and save. Then if you're changing lunch times, then the calc needs to be rerun. So it can recalc every kid's attendance, and it's going to go retroactive back to the first day of school. So there's no, well, the first week we had lunch this time and then we switched it. Nope, it's retroactive. So if I would change the lunch now, and let's say I said 5A was going to be from 11 to 11:30 instead of 11:04 to 11:34. Then the House Bill calc would have to run, and it would go recalculate students' attendance. How many is it going to affect? Probably not many, but there might be 1 or 2 that they might get docked an extra, or they might gain an extra 4 minutes because they left school at 11 o'clock. And that would have been their lunch period, okay? Sharon says, I'm EMIS coordinator. Yes, hi Sharon. I have lunch times in SI. However, I have just noticed that middle school guidance did not add lunch to the schedules. The elementary did put lunch on the schedules. Does that mean the partial absence over lunch will not calculate correctly? That means they're getting docked, Sharon, more than they should. So that scenario for this kiddo that I just had that went 10:55 to 12:15, that's an hour and 20 minutes without the times for lunch and without lunch on the schedule, that your kids would be docked an hour and 20 minutes. Now, who's going to notice? One of those helicopter parents who's like, wait a minute, my kid didn't miss this much school. I purposely made their appointment over lunch, eventually it's really early in the year, so it's not that big of a deal. But eventually I'm sure it would get some students to hit the thresholds if you didn't change that. It's not too late to go add lunches to the kids. Then the House Bill calc's going to run and recalc everything and then adjust their hours accordingly. So that's what I would do. You're welcome. Okay. Something else I want to talk about, which is really important. So we have these times here for your lunch start and stop times. The other thing that this calculation is looking at, hey, before we do that, let's go into gradebook so I can show you a couple things. Now, I just did this gradebook integration this morning, so hopefully I don't run into any issues. I think I might have to log in. Now, I think almost everybody on this call uses gradebook. And so your teachers are taking their attendance in gradebook. When those teachers hit submit, it immediately writes back into Dazzle or student information. When you, as the office staff or whoever is entering that attendance in Dazzle and you hit save, it automatically wrote that into gradebook. It's simultaneous updates as soon as someone hits save. For gradebook, and this is a lot of people get hung up on, you must tell gradebook which periods your teachers are going to take attendance. And I see this happening a lot, and this is why we send reminder emails every year, that someone needs to come into gradebook attendance, and you have to go to this set required homerooms for homeroom attendance, and someone needs to mark which classes they're actually taking attendance in. So someone would need to come in here. So this district is taking it first period. So I could make this a little easier on myself and just narrow this down. So these are the first period classes. So I could say they're taking attendance here, and here, and here, and here, and here. And then say, then the teachers will be able to take attendance. Anybody on here had that problem this year? Happens every year that this required homerooms for attendance isn't marked. Now a teacher can go take attendance, and as soon as they hit submit again, it's going to write back into Dazzle. As soon as someone in student information marks a kid absent, it's going to show up in gradebook for the teacher that that kiddo is absent.
Melissa, can you show how you got to that screen again?
Yes. So in gradebook, if you are a gradebook master or you have school admin, which is pretty much the keys to the kingdom, you have everything, you're always going to be brought to this page, the home page, the administrator homepage, and you have to go to the attendance. So some of you might have just the attendance over here, but that's the one you want to select, the attendance. I am definitely not used to these icons. I have to expand this menu. I was used to seeing the words up on the top for gradebook, and I have a lot of trouble figuring out what's what. So I always have to cheat and expand that menu. And so then when you get into attendance, it's this big long one. Set required homerooms for attendance. That has to be done every year. And I chose the high school, and then I can come in here and tell gradebook. Basically, I'm telling gradebook, all right, here's when these teachers are going to take attendance. So it's either your homerooms or it's typically your first period. Don't mark everything because you'll have a mess. You have to be very meticulous and mark the ones that they're just taking morning attendance in. And generally it's first period or it's homeroom. This district does not use homeroom, so that's why you're not seeing any show up in here. They don't have homeroom, so I just have classes. Okay, now let me shrink this. Okay, let's talk about thresholds. We've gotten an hour left. Let's discuss kids that have hit the thresholds and how we figure that out. So remember that House Bill calc needs to run. So if Timmy hits the threshold, you know, like, dang it, I knew they were going to do that. I knew they were going to skip today. And now I got to do an absence intervention for them. And you try to run the report and it doesn't show that they've hit the threshold and you know they have. It's probably because your House Bill calc needs to be forced. Force it or wait for it to run at night at 7 o'clock. So the analytics hub, so remember that paper icon, here's where you're going to find all the House Bill reports I mentioned earlier. These top 3: thresholds by date range, thresholds detail, threshold summary. You're probably going to want to run thresholds date range, especially when you're halfway into school. If you would run so this threshold detail, so remember the word detail means it's going to come out in Excel. But when you run the threshold detail, you can't pick a date range. So you're going to get thresholds for the whole entire year. And when it comes to February and you're trying to figure out the new kids that hit the thresholds, you don't want all this other extra stuff, okay? I'm early in the year, so it's really not going to matter. So we'll say school name equal to the high school. I'll do, did anyone catch that? Well, first of all, here's a trick. If you get something in this value column and you're like, I want to get rid of it, highlight it and hit delete. Anyone tell me why the high school is the only building showing in this drop down when I've got intermediate, middle school, elementary, and high school? I have 4 buildings in this district. So why for the threshold report is only the high school showing?
Because you have the equals to in the condition?
No.
No?
Good guess.
Okay.
No. Yes. So some of you are saying
It is the only building that has a student that hit the threshold.
yes, that is right. This throws people off. Every year, I think we got 3 tickets on it just this week about why isn't the school showing in the drop down. Well, that's because nobody at that building has hit a threshold. So high school is the only one who's hit a threshold. And that's honestly typically what I see. It's the high school kids that are going to be the most truant. You know, it might vary by district to district, but generally is the high school. The kids are going to hit the thresholds and a lot of them will hit them fast. So if I come and run this for high school, and I will do the trick for not equal to, grade level not equal to. I want all the status. I don't care what student status they are. If they hit the threshold, show them. I don't care what grade level they are, give me all grade levels back. And so I've changed this to not equal to, not equal to. And again, that means I don't have to fill this out. I hit OK, and the report is looking to see which students have hit thresholds. Remember, the House Bill calc needs to run in order for this report to be updated. I'm going to export it into Excel. And if I open that, enable editing, I'll make this bigger. All right. So Mr. Brett Alford, consecutive habitual truancy. And he hit it on 9/11. Anybody want to remind me? I know, but I'm just asking what habitual consecutive is. Consecutive habitual truancy. What does that mean? Anybody know? Yeah, 30 hours in a row. That's the trick. It has to be 30 hours in a row. It doesn't count holidays. It doesn't count weekends. And it doesn't count snow days or fog days. Now, if I pull up Brett Alford, so he has the consecutive habitual, that means he has missed 30 hours in a row. And I go back to him. School AB. Sure enough, he's that student that missed Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday. And my school day here is 6.1 hours. And if you miss 5 of them, yep, he's over 30 hours. So if your school day is only 5.5 hours, or 5.8, they're going to need to miss 6 days in order for them to be 30 hours consecutive. Okay, so you do the math in your head and determine how many days it would work for your district. Now, you're going to have some students, and they're tricky, and they figured this out, and they might miss Monday, Tuesday, well, they wouldn't come on Friday. Let's say they miss Friday, they miss Monday, they miss Tuesday, and they miss Wednesday. All right, that's already 4 days. So we're at 24 hours. Then they miss Friday, except, oh, they decide to show up at 11 o'clock. Well, guess what? They're not going to hit the consecutive anymore because the clock started again. So on that Friday, or excuse me, that Thursday, they show up and they're there from 11 to 2:35. And they got a half-hour lunch. So whoop-to-do, they're at school like 3 hours. But that stopped that consecutive clock. All right. So it has to be completely absent 30 hours consecutively. If somewhere in here, let's say Friday the 8th actually happened to be a fog day and we had to cancel school, then he would had to have missed yesterday also to be consecutive, because if I took this one out, then he would have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday we were closed, Monday would have been day 4, and then he would have had to miss yesterday to make day 5. Okay, so it has to be consecutive. And what the House Bill Calc is looking at is your master calendar and your EMIS exceptions. Right, that's how it's figuring this out. If you're in school, the same thing works. Let's say today we had a fog delay. We had a 2-hour delay, so school started at 9:55. Instead, if I enter the EMIS exception that says shortened day and we only had 4.1 hours, then when the House Bill calcs, instead of when a kiddo misses a full day today, when we had that fog day, they're going to get 4.1 hours. But that only works, you must have the EMIS exceptions entered, because the House Bill is looking at that to see, all right, should I count this as a full day? Is this a partial day? Is this no day? So again, the EMIS exceptions have to be entered. I would not wait. I know I have some EMIS coordinators on here. I would not wait to the last minute to get them entered. When they happen, I would get them entered as soon as possible. So that way the House Bill calc is a true reflection of the student's time.
We have another chat question, Melissa. If a bulk absence of days is put in for a student on vacation and one of those days ends up being a calamity day, will the calculations realize that and ignore that absence on the student's absence screen?
Yes, it does. So what Tracy's asking, if I left this way, September 8th is unexcused no-show, and well, yeah, I left it this way, unexcused no-show, and then the 8th happened to be canceled, no school at all, that day would be hidden from their absences. When the calc reran, they would still only have 4 days. So yes, it's going to. But remember, habitual 30 days only counts unexcused. Habitual is only unexcused. So we've got habitual and we have excessive. Habitual, unexcused only. I am a terrible speller. Sorry, guys. Unexcused, and I've been on vacation a while. Rusty. Unexcused only. Excessive is excused and unexcused combined. Minus medical. Minus medical. All right. This does include OSS, out of school suspension. This habitual can't include OSS. So you cannot, if you suspend a student and they miss 5 days in a row, they are not considered habitually truant. Consecutive absence 30. The House Bill law says out of school suspensions cannot be counted towards habitual. They can be counted towards excessive. So if I find, I have a student that was suspended. I have to remember to think about who that was, darn it. Oh, Cole. I think it's Cole. Cole. Yeah, Darlene. So Miss Darlene got herself in a little bit of trouble. So if I go into Darlene's discipline incidents, so Miss Darlene, she assaulted another student and she was out of school suspended for 5 days. So from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday, she was out of school suspension. If I go to her school absence page, there are those absences for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, out of school suspension. So this absence type, out of school suspension, when the House Bill calc runs, it knows not to include those in her habitual hours. Now, if I look at her her thresholds, so she has missed 5 days out of school suspension, then she's got an excused for the 29th. She went to a funeral, so that's another 6.1 day. So she's up to like 36.6 hours missed. And then she just is absent today also. She is a no call. She shows up for school yesterday and says, forget this, I'm not going back. So then today she's absent again. If I rerun the House Bill calc, she is now going to have 7 full days of absences. All right, and then she's got this partial also. She's getting very close to hitting one of the excessive thresholds. She's not quite there yet, but she's getting very close to one of the excessive thresholds. So when we go back, so habitual, so we've got 30 days and 30 hours in a row, unexcused. We've got 42 in a month, 42 unexcused. Gosh, I am sorry, guys, in a month. And then we have 72 hours in the year. And so all of these numbers cannot include out of school suspensions. They include all other unexcused absences, but not the unexcused, or not the out of school suspension. We come down here and we talk excessive. There's only two numbers for excessive: 38 unexcused or excused in a month, including out of school suspensions, but excludes medical. And then the other number is the 65 hours in a year. So with her, she is getting dangerously close to hitting an excessive. She isn't quite there yet, if my math is right. Oh, my math is wrong. She is there. See that I was really on vacation for 3 weeks. I'm a little rusty, I guess. So if I would rerun this House bill calc, which I'll go ahead and do real quickly, she's going to hit the threshold for excessive in 1 month, 38 hours. So again, to run that House bill calc on the fly, parentheses, S parentheses, and then verify, run, add up EMIS. I can only choose update mode, and I'm going to submit and wait for that to finish. And in the meantime, I can get my report ready and run that threshold report. Oops, not equal to, not equal to. Just let me see if this verify has finished. Almost, not quite. By the way, no matter how many times you click this, it does not make it go any faster. I know it makes me feel better to just keep clicking. It's kind of a stress reliever, but it doesn't make it go any faster. This is now complete. So I can go here and run this report. And I should see Miss Darlene Cole. I did this right. I don't see anything. What did I do wrong? Darlene Cole, unexcused, out of school suspension. Is my math right? I can add, right? So 30 plus this day is 36 plus this day is 42. Right? Am I thinking right, guys? I'm going to run this again just in case it was not happy that I selected the building before the calc finished. Okay, I still don't have a cold. All right, what am I missing, guys? You see something I'm not catching? Huh. All right, let me, I have way too many screens open here. It's not that one. I need this one. Okay. Darlene Cole, Darlene Cole. Let's go to her absence intervention page. Absence intervention page. Wait, no. That's right. 36. I am missing something here. Oops, school AB. I didn't delete that, did I? No. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unexcused, excused furniture funeral. Yeah, I'm missing something here because this is not calculating.
Melissa, someone said, I think one of the days was. for
Oh yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, I forgot about that. Yes, that's what it is. Whew. I'm like, wait a minute. She was absent. She got suspended on the 5th. Yes, thank you. That's what it is. So she has only missed 36 hours in September because that one's in August. Huh, Lord. Okay, she's getting dangerously close to September. My apologies. Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, something is not calculating right here. Thank you. Yes, one of those days. Would the threshold trigger show up the next day? No, it wouldn't, because she hasn't hit a threshold yet. Now, if I would come in here and say, well, she decided yesterday she wasn't going to show up either. Now, if I rerun that calc, now she has 42 hours and will show up because she has, these are all 42 hours in September. Now, does anyone know the rules on excessive? There are different rules from excessive to habitual. For excessive, you don't have to do an absence intervention plan. You just have to send the written notification to the parent saying, hey, we want to alert you. Your kids missed over 38 hours of school this month. We'd like to keep an eye on this. But excessive absences don't need intervention plans. All right. They just need the note, a written notification, whether that's you mail it to them, you email it to them. That's up to you, but that serves as written notification. So if I see if my calc is done, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant this management. All right, my calc is finished. Now, if I come over here and I run this report again, I want thresholds. And I run that. Darlene Cole should show up as an excessive absence threshold. So not equal to, not equal to, I'm cheating this time. And she should show up on this report. Bingo, there she is. Monthly excessive absences, and she hit the threshold today. So again, the monthly, now if I refresh her absence intervention page, she has a 42 out of 38, and she threshold excessive absences 913. So again, for the excessive, you don't need absence intervention plan. You just need to document that they have received the letter.
Melissa, can the written notification be an email?
Yes, it can. Something I want to point out. If you go to OD, so go Google Ohio Department of Education, go to ODE's website. In this search up here, type HB 410, hit enter. This Ohio attendance laws FAQ, super duper 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 important, and lots of good information there. Tracking and reporting attendance. How do excused count towards excessive absences? Do absences caused by suspensions count towards excessive absences? Excessively absent. What happens when a student is excessively absent? Do students with excessive absences need to have a personalized absence intervention plan? No. So there's a whole section about excessively absent. What happens when they're absent, excessively absent? The district must notify the student's parent or guardian in writing within 7 days. The student will follow the policy for addressing absences, and the district can refer the student to resources. How must the district notify the family? A district must notify them in writing within 7 days. They can consider different modes of communication when notifying. That includes email or a friendly letter in the mail. District needs to record the date the notice was given in their district's student information system. So again, this FAQ, fantastic, has so much great information. And how I found that FAQ, again, go out to ODE's website. In this box up here, HB 410, and it's the third one down, Ohio's attendance laws FAQ. Excellent resource. I would bookmark this page, honestly. So we want to document where we gave this kid a letter. If you were not aware, you have the ability to print a letter straight out of Dazzle. It will do all the work for you. There's legwork you have to build up to. You've got to create a letter. You've got to load the letter, but then you'll be able to use the letter. We have probably, I think a couple examples that you can use. We have some districts, they just have one letter, and it is a letter that covers excessive and habitual all in the same letter. That's fine. We have other districts who have an individual letter for each. They have a letter for habitual, 30 days consecutive. They have another letter for habitual, 42 hours unexcused in 1 month. Then they have a third letter that's 72 hours unexcused the whole year. Then they've got a fourth letter for excessive and a fifth letter for excessive for the year. Which would I choose? I'd go with one letter because I like things simple, but it's completely up to you. You know, if you have a letter loaded, if you have this print letter button. If you don't have this button, you don't have a letter loaded. And so they have a letter loaded, this district that I'm using, and what this is doing is running on the fly. So I don't know if you caught that. It was doing some magic, and then it popped up here. Oops. It popped up there, and now I'm trying to open it. And I got click happy, and hopefully it's going to load. Here it is. It opens in Word. And what these letters do, it'll flood fill. It fills. So I have the student in context, and then it pulls all their data. It does this magic by bookmarks, and it will list all the absences. And so that's the letter that you can send home. Now I need to document that I sent that letter home. And again, I'm supposed to be doing it within 7 days of them hitting the threshold. Contact involvement. So I can come down here and say parent involvement. I sent that to Dad, and I sent it today. It is a written notification. It was for excessive absences. Letter 1. And whatever you type in these notes is just for you. But again, I'm a big CYA, and I document everything. Hit threshold. in September. And I'm going to go ahead and update. Okay, that's all I have to do for those excessive. And I don't know if you caught what I did. Many of you might not even know this is down here, but there's this caret here where you can open this and see I added that excessive absent notification. It automatically created an entry down here. These are going to go to ODE. So these entries down here go to ODE. There are 4 things that have to be sent to ODE, and they are when you sent the first letter home when the kid became excessive. So if the kid's excessive in October, in December, and in February, and then again in May, 6 different times, only one entry of that is going to go to ODE. Only 1A is going to go. You should be documenting all the other letters you sent home, but ODE only gets 1A. What is the state doing? There is a spot on here about what we have to be reported to the state. And it's telling you those things I'm mentioning. When the kid becomes excessive, the letter, then when the kid becomes habitual, that automatically gets sent to the state. You don't even have to do anything, and the state is automatically getting sent that kid is habitual. When a kid is habitual, that's when you've got to put them on the plan and document that you're making a good faith attempt to get their attendance issues under control. That's when you need the plan and the team, and the date you used for the plan, that gets sent to ODE. That record is getting sent to ODE along with the fact that they are habitual. And so excessive, the day you sent the letter, goes to ODE, and not even the day, just the fact you sent the letter goes to ODE for excessive. When they become habitual, that goes to ODE. When you create the plan, that goes to ODE. And then if the courts are involved, that goes to ODE. So only 4 things are going to ODE for this attendance. I'm trying to, somewhere on here is about what are the state reporting requirements, and I'm tracking and reporting. Oh, here it is. Are there additional EMIS reporting requirements? Okay. Yes, Ohio law says, so I don't know if you guys can catch this. When the district notified the parent or guardian that a student was excessive, you have to document that, and that's going to go to ODE. When the student has been absent without a legitimate excuse for 30, 42, or 72, that's the habitual, that goes. When a student violates the court order, that goes to ODE. And then when an absence intervention plan is implemented, that also goes to ODE. So only 4 things. And I know you're saying, well, I got to document all of this and only 4 things. Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of the odd thing about all of this. You document, but only 4 things out of all of this go to ODE. Does that mean you should not document all of this? No, please document, because you never know when you're going to get audited on this stuff. And the more you have entered in the system and documented, the better off you'll be.
Melissa, someone is asking, I'm not sure what this is referring to. Is it the first link under the tracking and reporting section?
You're cutting in and out, Carly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is it the first link under the tracking and reporting section?
You cut out again.
Sorry, is it the first link under the tracking and reporting section?
I still don't hear what you're saying. Is excessive what?
Are you able to check the chat?
Yeah, which one am I looking at? There's a ton in there.
Teresa and Beth, the last two.
It is the first link under track and reporting. Yep, I already found that. Okay. That's this one. So that's, are there additional EMIS? That's where the FAQ goes into what 4 things get reported. Okay, so Beth says we automatically set up a team with excessive since most of the time the students are habitual. That's fine. And this FAQ says, yeah, you can do that. It is not needed. But you are more than welcome to do that if you'd like. Okay, so yes, this video is recorded. Where can you, okay, I think I got them all. All right, now let's find another kid who's actually habitual. So if I go back to my thresholds, and again, I've got too much stuff open. Here we go. Here's my thresholds, but not my Mrs. Cole threshold. Shucks. All right, we're gonna run this again. This is what happens when I have too many tabs open. While this is going, something I want to point out. There's no record on this page that somebody clicked that button and clicked print a letter, okay? There's nothing on here that says Melissa ran this today at 10:45. That is not saved anywhere, right? So if someone would ask me, well, can I tell if someone ever printed a letter? No, I cannot tell. All I know is who documented it here in the parent involvement. Jim, you're getting into law stuff that I honestly can't answer. Jim asks, can a phone conference constitute an attendance intervention team meeting? I would have to refer to this. Have you checked this doc out yet, Jim? I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I can just tell you how to document it if it does. So I would have to research that. Or all right, next one. If we send a written notification and see the House Bill A record and then a parent provides, then we update. Oh, very good question. Awesome, awesome question. I think last name's Olson. I can't tell first name. Okay. They're asking, well, Darlene, she has this A because I gave her this written notification. Well, what happens if we come back and she provides doctor's note for yesterday and today? Remember, she was suspended on Monday, so there's no getting out of that. So she changes, this gets changed to medically excused. Originally, no call, no show, provided doctor note. And that goes for both of these days. Now, when the House Bill reruns or I force it, it's going to adjust those. So now if I force that calc, make sure that's saved, and I go force the calculation, I really just need a button on my desktop that I can just run it. What should happen is it should remove that A. Now, if it doesn't, then something's happened and it's not working correctly. But as far as I know, it is still removing the A. Okay. While I'm in here, I want to show you something. I do have a couple EMIS coordinators on this training. Many of you are not, but many of you have been approached by your EMIS coordinator and said, well, I ran the report and it says we're missing all these absence intervention plans for these kids. All right. Every student who meets the habitual threshold must have an absence intervention plan created. And I don't want that. If I go ahead and there is this transfer, the student, truancy and excessive, the FT record is what gets sent to ODE with were they excessive, were they habitual, did they fail to meet the court order, and did they get the intervention plan? So if I run this, you're going to see all these numbers, and at the very tail end of them, there will be an A, a B, a C, and a D. Those A, B, C, Ds are what is getting created when we edit the student's absence intervention plan. So like this student, the A, that's my student who has that excessive absences, right? Every student who has the excessive, they also must have the plan created on. All right. Now let's go back to that student, Darlene. The calc is done, right? Calc is done. If I go to Darlene's absence intervention plan, it should have removed the A. If it didn't, in my opinion, that's wrong. Okay, it's gone. Yay! Now, is it going to get rid of this one? No. But it's smart enough to know she does not need an A down here, because she has not hit the threshold. See, that's gone now. Okay, so now let me find somebody on here that's habitual. Habitual is Mr. Phil Roach. What a name, Roach. Okay, Phil Roach. Go Philip. Mr. Philip has, oh yikes, he's not doing so hot this school year. He has excessive absences, already hit that 831, habitual truant 829. This is telling me he's never showed up for school yet. And they have all these parent notifications. They have developed the plan. So they have already done all this stuff for that student. If I come down here to the House bill event, so he's got an A, a B, and a D. So there, when the kid becomes habitual, they automatically get the B's created. It does that automatically when a kid hits a threshold. The D's can only get entered or created when someone enters that plan. And it's this date is what matters. This plan created on date. And then this student also has excessive and has a written notification for excessive, and that's how that A got created. Okay,
Melissa, are you able to hear me?
yes.
Okay. That said, our school policy requires a medical excuse be provided within 48 hours of returning unless an administrator makes an exception. The HB 410 status would remain and the medical excuse would be entered after the fact, the date submitted in the comments, but excuse remains for the absence type.
You lost me there. Our school policy requires a medical excuse be provided with 48 hours of returning unless an administrator makes an exception. The House Bill calc would remain, and the medical excuse would be entered after the fact with the date submitted in the context, but excuse remains if you must go to the kid and change their absence type to medical for it to not be included in the House Bill calc. If I pull up this student's school absence page and I scroll down here, if this says unexcused for last Friday, I have to pencil this. I must change the absence type to excused. Just writing in notes that it's medical isn't going to work because House Bill calc does not look at this stuff. It doesn't look at reasons and notes. You have to change the type to medically excused, rerun the calc or wait for it to run at night, and then that absence will not be included in their House Bill attendance. Does that make sense, Beth? It sounds like you guys might have just been, like, I'll take September 1st. It sounds like you might have just been coming in here and saying reason is medical. That kid is still getting docked for that. That is counting against them.
She says
Yeah.
we aren't changing the HB status. It stands because of our policy.
Yeah, well, your district decides their own policy. If you check out that FAQ, that's exactly what this says about every district should create their own policy regarding what is medical absence. Now, it does say, the law says you cannot dock a kid for mental illness. That must be counted as medical. That is also in this FAQ here. Mental illness must be counted as medical. So if your policy says you must have a doctor's note 48 hours, then that's your policy. If they give you a doctor's note in 36 hours and your policy is you don't change it, then that's your policy. But my advice is you have a policy and you stick to it. And it can't just count for this kid because you like their parents and not for this kid. Because honestly, I see some of that happening. It must be consistent and the policy must be followed for everyone. So if that's your policy, run with it. But again, just make sure you remain consistent and you follow that same policy for every student, because again, that's where I see it gets a little hairy when rules apply to some kids, but not the other kids.
Okay, we have another question from Amber. When doing the intervention team and plan district responsibilities checklist, when it says within 7 days of the triggering absence, the district must do the following. Is that the calendar days or school days?
That's the last one, Carly?
No, it was back at 11, 12. You go up like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Amber will.
Amber, I'm going to again refer to the Ohio laws FAQ, because in some parts it says school days, other days it says calendar days. So when we talk about habitual, we come down to that section. All right, within 10 calendar days of triggering an absence, the student will be assigned to a team. Within 14 days, that doesn't say calendar days, that says 14 school days. So 2 weeks of school after the team, you must develop the plan. Within 7 calendar days after the plan, you should make responsible effort to give written notice to the parent or the student, or the parent's guardian, the parent or guardian. Okay, so sadly, they're using, some things are calendar days, some things are school days. So it gets confusing. When in doubt, if you always go calendar days, you'll be good. The only one that doesn't follow calendar days is implementing the plan within 14 school days. So, but again, this is on the ODE FAQ. Hopefully that answers your question. So you have to make the team within 10 calendar days. You have to create the plan within 14 school days. And then you have 7 calendar days after you make the plan to do the written notification.
Okay, Melissa, Beth is also asking, how do we know it's mental illness?
I honestly cannot answer that, but if I come here and I say ODE mental, is an appointment concerning mental health a medically excused absence? According to law, students missing instructional time for mental or behavioral health appointments or treatment from medical providers is an excusable absence that schools and districts should add to their attendance policies. Schools and districts may require a written statement from the medical or mental health professional. Okay, someone said the A for House Bill 10 will only automatically go if we specifically use written notification for excessive. That is right. So excessive, a kid can only get an A is if when they are excessively absent and they have a written notification. That's the only way the student could ever have an A. Someone mentioned email as written notification. If you select email instead of written notification, it will not generate. Am I understanding correctly? I have not tested that out. Are you saying that you chose email and it didn't make an A? Because ODE's FAQ states that email or written notification or a written letter constitutes as written notification. You know, things change as technology changes. But if you're saying you did that and you entered email notification and it didn't create the A, send me that in a ticket so I can send that to state support and they can investigate and possibly create a defect. Because based on ODE's FAQ, yes, it should. Beth, so Beth wrote, any doctor appointment is medically excused. That might be for your district, but that's not the way it is for every district. Okay. Per ODE, yes, a mental illness appointment should be excused. And ODE saying, if you want, they must provide you with a written statement from the mental health professional. All right. That needs to be medically. It's up to your district whether you decide we are taking their word that they're going to the doctor and we're counting them as medical, or we must have the doctor's note. Every district is different on that.
Melissa, somebody's asking, what if the intervention page has a button for printing thresholds, but not for generating a letter?
That means you don't have a letter loaded. That's something I did mention. So if you go to that absence intervention page, and if you do not see print a letter, that means you have no letter template loaded. And I'll point out again where that letter template goes to. So if I'm at the district level, so in this Dazzle, I'm at the district. If I type in the word template in the cheater, this is where you load the template. You must be at the district level. You must have access to this page. I cannot give you access to this page. So if you don't have access to load that letter, you're going to have to talk to your district super user. EMIS Corner, they would have access to load that letter. Then once that letter is loaded, then it shows, then you get that option to print letter. But again, it will only show print letter if you have a letter to print, that the one that you uploaded. I have a generic one that if you sent us a help desk ticket and we attach the letter, you could just straight upload it and it would work for your district without any tweaking. Remember, that is ProgressBook help at metasolutions.net. Once you get a letter in there, you're probably never going to touch it or hardly ever touch it. It's kind of like a one and done on those letters. Get them in there, and then very rarely do you have to mess with them again. Okay. Now I have got like 5 minutes, so do I have any kids who's habitual that maybe has not started something? Here's one. Mr. Fred Knox. Don't want anyone to go away and say I didn't show you something, so we're going to take Mr. Fred Knox. He has habitual. He's got stuff created for him too. Dang it. I want to find a student that, so this data is from this past weekend. And so there are no absences entered besides the absences that I created. And I want to do one from scratch. So let's pretend we're pretending. All right, put on your pretend hat. This kid, Harry, hit the threshold, which he really didn't. Okay, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to click create. I'm going to set up my team. Now, if you start typing in here and somebody's not in here, have no fear. It doesn't matter. Just go over here and select other. You can type whatever you want. And I'll go ahead and add. And who's else is on the team? I don't know. Rachel Smith. Then the team was created. We created it last Wednesday, I created it. But today I'm actually creating the plan. And then I can go ahead and update this. This is the field. The plan must be created 14 school days after they hit the threshold. So this kiddo has never hit a threshold, but let's pretend they hit a threshold last Tuesday after Labor Day. I had 14 days from last Tuesday to get that plan created on entered for me to stay compliant. Then I could come in here and parental involvement, Mr. Knox, and notice he has the asterisk. That means he is the primary contact. And I could come and say I want my written notification. Today's date. It is for habitual truant. We'll say Wednesday, Tuesday, 9/5. And I can go ahead and save that. Now this, he has not really hit the he hasn't hit a threshold, so it's not adding them down here. He can't get a written notification for habitual because he's really not habitual. So if he had the corresponding B that said he was habitual, then the D would automatically add for him down there too. Hopefully that makes sense and it's not confusing to people. The C's are honestly, I've seen pretty rare. The C's that violates the court order. From what I've been told, getting the court to assist can be difficult in the first place. So it never really gets to that point where they're violating it, but it does happen.
Melissa, are the members of the team reported to ODE?
No, the only thing that got reported to ODE was A, B, C, and D and the kids' EMIS ID. That's it. Nothing else goes there. So if I pull up that transfer again, this is all that's getting sent. Nothing else. It's the day. So that is 09/06/2023 in the D. That is all that gets reported to ODE. A, B, C, D, and the date and the kids' EMIS ID. Nothing else goes. Absolutely nothing else goes. Now, does that mean you're not ever going to get audited on it and you shouldn't fill it out? No, I cannot stress that enough. Document, 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 CYA, CYA, CYA. And make sure you have it all accurately recorded in student information. But again, it's not going to go to ODE. Just that A, B, C, D goes. All right, it's 11:30. Any other questions? This is recorded, and then this recording will be sent out to the distribution list probably later this week. I might have to edit the beginning when I before I let people in from the waiting room, but I'll just check that. If you have questions, remember that's that email address, and we'll be glad to assist you. You're welcome, Beth. And please don't forget about ODE's attendance loss. This is an awesome, 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 awesome page. Lots of good information. All right, thanks everyone. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording and I'll hang on here just a couple more minutes. I want to give a plug for our open labs. Every one of our sites, we've been doing this for as long as I've worked here, 7 years. Open labs once a month at each location. Sometimes we have one person, sometimes we have no people, sometimes we have 7 people. But if you're having issues or you have more attendance questions and you think it's just easier if you asked us instead of send us a ticket, come to one of the open labs or the help sessions. And again, they're once a month in Columbus, Piketon, Dayton. I don't care which one you show up to. If you're down in Dayton area, but you want to go shopping at Easton and you want to sign up for the Columbus session we have next Thursday, go for it. It does not matter which session you attend. You can find these open labs on our calendar. So go out to Meta Solutions website, and over on the right, you're going to click calendar and events, and then you're going to choose that you want ProgressBook. And it displays all the sessions. So tomorrow there's a session in Dayton. Next Thursday, there's one in Columbus. There's one in Piketon. There's one in Dayton on the 28th. These go all the way out till next year. So they're on the calendar, I think, all the way out until June. Might
Melissa,
even
we have
for August.
We have a couple questions. Would calendar invitations constitute documentation of team members and their participation in case of an audit?
I think that's a question for ODE, Jim. I can't answer that. I don't know.
And then
Um,
what about reporting external hours that add up with the new in-house hours to hit threshold? We are still responsible for that too?
Yes, and House Bill Calc will not look at external hours. You have to manually add them up. So if you're getting a kid transfer in from like Columbus Public and they've missed 20 hours unexcused at Columbus Public this year, and then you're going through the school year and they've missed 60 hours with you, you need to manually add 60 plus 20 to get 82 so that they've hit the threshold. There's nothing that's going to add those together for you. There is a report in the analytics hub that will tell you how many externals a kid had, how many they actually have on their school absence page, and help you add them together. But first you've got to get them in externals for that report to even work. And that's in the in this attendance folder of MRS2. But yes, you are responsible when a kid transfers in from another district. You are supposed to be adding those absences together with yours to see if they've hit thresholds. Does that happen? No, but it's technically supposed to happen. We have to force the ABC. When you have, Beth, when you have a kid who has externals from another and you add them with your district and they've hit thresholds, you have to manually enter those ABCs. That's why there's this other tab, user added events. And you would have to add, all right, this kid hit the habitual, they did it, we're talking way in the future. Maybe they hit it in April 12, and then 20 CBUS public plus R50 or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You have to do it as a manual entry. The House Bill Calc is never going to calculate that. It's never going to take externals plus school absences and add them together to get thresholds. This can only be done manual. Is that the only time you should? Yes, in my opinion, that is the only time you should ever do user added events. You should not cheat the system. And just because you don't want to make plans and come in here and say, I'm going to add D's for all the kids, that's technically cheating. You need to come up here, document the plan, who's in the plan or who's in the team when you created the plan. Yeah. In my opinion, the only time you should use user added events is when you have a kid transfer in from another school, or they're at two different schools and you're adding them up to hit the thresholds. In my opinion, that's what I would do. I would not use that user added. Because again, I've lost all my CYA. If I bypass this and start adding manual event for plans, then where's all this up here? Yes, none of that's getting reported to ODE, but what happens if someone would come back a year from now and say, well, so-and-so says this, and you go to look at their attendance and none of it is documented. So you can only send one A event. That's right. It doesn't matter if the kid has so if I did Francisco and I said in today he hit the excessive written notification, and then I said I'm predicting into the future that in October that he was excessive again, and that in November he's excessive again. Only one of those A's will go, not three of them. Only one per student is going. Does that mean you should not document all of this? No, it does not mean that. You should always document, CYA, but there's only going to be one A down here. And he hasn't hit a threshold, so it won't come up there. So like I could type all I want up here, but if he's not hit a threshold over here, it's never going to create the A's too. Do you create multiple habitual letters for every trigger? I don't know what you mean. My advice is have one letter. When he triggers the letter for 30, run it. He triggers it later this month at 42 or 38, run it again. 42, sorry. 30, 42. Then he hits it in December for 72, run it again. So we have a generic letter that says you're receiving this because your student is either excessive or habitual. And it's actually a letter that Dublin uses. They said, hey, we don't care. Let whoever wants to use it, go for it. Just take our watermark off, and we did. So that's how Dublin just has one letter. It seemed the easiest for us. Also, that's what I would recommend. Again, if you send us a ticket and say, hey, Melissa talked about that letter, can you send me that letter so I can take a look at it and maybe tweak it? Yeah, we'll gladly do that. It used to be on our website. I don't know if it still is, but it used to be out here. But this was a while ago. So if I go to member resources, ProgressBook, oh yeah, there it is. Absence letter and discipline letter examples. Yes, it's this one. Attendance letter, updated doc. This is the generic letter. So you don't even have to send us a ticket. You can go, can't download file. No. Oh, there it is. Okay. So what this letter has is bookmarks, and it's going to automatically grab the student's contact name, grab the contact address, and it just says, in order to promote student achievement, your district, in accordance with this Ohio Revised Code, blah, 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 blah. And so see, it has excessive and it has habituals all covered on all the same letter. So again, how I got that was go out to our website. So go metasolutions.net, go click hamburger over here, member resources and services. You are ProgressBook, and then go to the third tab, links and docs. And if you scroll down here, there's absence, intervention, and discipline letter templates. And there's that generic, all-encompassing attendance letter that you can borrow and use for your own, and loaded as just loaded under templates at the district level, and then you could start using it. All right, if there are no more questions, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'll just hang on here a couple more minutes. And again, the recording should be ready later this week. In the meantime, don't forget about the videos on the portal page under this attendance, and it will take you out to the public YouTube videos that anyone can watch. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and hopefully you had a great start of school.
Hey, Melissa, somebody had asked where the video will be posted.
No, I don't think I can post it. It's a huge recording. I haven't figured that out. It will be sent in an email what I do with it. I don't know yet. but it will be sent in an email. Hey, go grab it from here, or the video will be a link in there. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet, but it will be emailed.